Did you know that the average person scrolls the equivalent of 300 feet of social media feed every single day?
Oh, wow, 300 feet?
Yeah. Just moving your thumb day in and day out, you're literally scrolling the entire height of the Statue of Liberty.
That is honestly kind of a terrifying visual when you put it like that.
Right, but it completely captures this very specific, almost universal modern feeling. You know the one. You are sitting there at a desk, staring at the clock in the bottom right corner of your computer screen, and you're just wondering, like, how did another week just go by?
Exactly. And your bank account looks exactly the same as it did last Friday.
Yes, your energy is completely tapped out, and you are just stuck in this loop. Or, maybe you're listening to this deep dive right now while you're making dinner, and you're a parent trying to solve this, frankly, impossible math equation of how to actually be present for your kids without completely sacrificing your family's financial security.
It is a really heavy weight to carry around.
It is. You are putting in the effort. You're scrolling the height of a monument every day. But, I mean, who is actually benefiting from all that time and attention?
It's a heavy weight, and it's one that a lot of people feel immense guilt for even acknowledging, right?
Yeah.
There is this pervasive societal pressure that says, well, you have a steady job. You should just keep your head down and be grateful.
Oh, absolutely. The whole just be glad you're employed mindset.
Exactly. But that underlying bone-deep exhaustion, that very valid desire to find a side hustle, to build an extra stream of income, or even, make a complete career shift so you could just work from home and breathe for a second, that is incredibly common.
So common.
The problem is the digital landscape is heavily booby-tracked. The moment you go looking for answers, the moment you type how to make money online into a search bar, what actually happens?
Oh, it is an absolute nightmare. You get hit with this immediate, massive, impenetrable wall.
Yes, the wall of noise.
It's either confusing tech jargon that basically requires a dictionary to understand, or it's like sketchy, get-rich-quick schemes promising you a Ferrari by Tuesday.
Right, the guys in the rented mansions.
Exactly. The guys in the rented mansions telling you that you need a specialized marketing degree and, $10,000 in startup capital just to get your foot in the door. It is incredibly overwhelming.
It really is.
You know what you want to achieve? You want time back. You want financial breathing room. You just have absolutely no idea where or how the underlying mechanics of this world actually work. And that is exactly what we are getting into today.
I'm really excited for this one.
Me too. Welcome to the deep dive. We're taking a look at a really fascinating, incredibly practical document we have in front of us called the Digital Income University Blueprint. And our mission today is to extract the absolute core insights from this blueprint and deeply demystify this whole concept of making an online income. We want to look at the actual nuts and bolts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it is really important to set the stage right away regarding what this blueprint is and, more importantly, what it definitely is not. Because, as you said, the internet is full of noise and, frankly, a lot of predatory nonsense.
Setting the ground rules. I love it. So let's be very clear with you right now. This deep dive is not about crypto bro hype. There is no magic button here that prints money while you blink.
Thank goodness.
Right. We are not doing dense academic fluff, and we are absolutely leaving the confusing tech jargon at the door. If a concept comes up, we're going to break down exactly how it functions in the real world. We are looking at a very specific roadmap designed entirely for the everyday person.
Which is incredibly refreshing to read, honestly. What's fascinating here is how the blueprint immediately validates that exact feeling of overwhelm we were just talking about.
It really does. It meets you where you are.
It does. The digital landscape right now is intimidating by design. But the core theme of this document is actually empowering. It systematically outlines how everyday people are making a massive psychological and practical transition.
Okay, unpack that transition for me.
Yeah, so they are going from being mindless scrollers, just, consuming content hour after hour, feeding the algorithm, to becoming digital creators who actually own their output.
That's a huge shift.
Huge. And the most critical piece of this is that they're doing it using the very devices that are already sitting in their hands, without needing a college degree, without needing a massive budget, and crucially, without needing to learn how to write a single line of computer code.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can even begin to look at the how of building an online income, The blueprint makes it very clear that we have to understand the why. Like, why do you feel so stuck in the first place?
Right, the root cause.
Yeah, and the text traces this back to what they call a fundamental disconnect in our education system. It basically argues that the rules of the entire global economy have fundamentally changed over the last 2 decades, but standard education completely missed the memo.
Completely missed it.
Traditional schools, from the ground up, are designed to teach you how to do exactly one thing: trade your time for a paycheck.
Right. It's the purest distillation of the industrial age model. I mean, think about how a traditional school is structured.
Oh, yeah, the bells.
Exactly. The bells ring at specific times. You sit in rows. You perform repetitive tasks. You go to school to learn how to be a good, compliant worker.
Wow, yeah. When you say it like that, it's so obvious.
It is. You clock in, you perform a task for a set number of hours, and you receive a proportional, fixed amount of money for those specific hours. The mechanism is entirely dependent on your physical presence and active labor.
So if you're not there, the system starts.
Precisely. If you get sick and stop working, the money stops flowing.
Yeah.
If you want to take a month off to be with your newborn, the money stops flowing. It is a purely linear equation.
I was thinking about it like this: the traditional 9 to 5 job, the way we've all been taught to live and structure our adult lives, it is essentially renting out your life by the hour.
Oof, renting out your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a powerful way to put it.
But it's true, right? You don't own your Tuesday morning. You are leasing your Tuesday morning to a company. You are leasing the best, most productive hours of your physical and mental energy.
Right.
If you earn $30 an hour, you are trading 60 minutes of your limited time on this earth for $30. And because there are only 24 hours in a day, your earning potential has a hard mathematical ceiling.
Yes. The laws of physics literally cap your income.
Exactly. Whereas what the blueprint is advocating for is totally different. It's not about renting out your time. It's about building an engine that runs on its own logic.
That is a perfect way to conceptualize the shift. Renting out your life by the hour takes a massive emotional and physical toll. And the blueprint really leans into the reality of this.
They don't sugarcoat it at all.
They really don't. It highlights the deep frustration of staying in an energy-draining job, commuting 2 hours a day, just to cover the baseline cost of living. When you are trading time for money, your earning potential is inherently capped.
Because you have to sleep.
You have to sleep, you have to eat, you have to care for your family. So there is a hard feeling on what you can possibly achieve, and a very hard floor on how exhausted you are going to feel trying to hit that ceiling.
Absolutely.
The blueprint asserts that escaping this trap, achieving actual sustainable financial freedom, should not be locked behind a gate of advanced tech degrees or, elite corporate backgrounds. It should be accessible to anyone willing to learn the new mechanics.
But, okay, let me push back on that for a second, because I can hear you listening right now thinking, okay, if the old system is trading time for money, what exactly is the new system replacing it with?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because let's be honest, for a lot of people, the phrase making money online just sounds like another exhausting job.
Oh, 100%. It
Wow.
sounds like a second shift.
Right. It sounds like dealing with customer service complaints at midnight or packaging boxes in your living room till 2 in the morning instead of working a standard shift. If the solution isn't just trading time in a different location, what is the actual mechanism? How does money change hands without my time being the currency?
That is the essential question, and it's a crucial distinction. The blueprint defines this shift very clearly, and it all comes down to the mechanics of distribution. The transition is moving away from trading your time and moving toward building what they call digital assets.
Okay, digital assets. This is the engine you were talking about earlier.
Yes. Let's break down exactly what a digital asset is and how it functions, because it's the core of everything.
Please do.
A digital asset is something you create exactly once. It could be a piece of knowledge, a digital tool, a written resource, a template.
Okay.
But because it is digital, it doesn't exist in the physical world. It lives entirely as data on a server. And because it lives online, it can be duplicated perfectly an infinite number of times at zero marginal cost.
Zero marginal cost, meaning it doesn't cost you anything extra to make the second copy or the 1,000th copy.
Precisely. Think about physical products. If you build a wooden chair to sell a second chair, you have to buy more wood, spend more time cutting it, and physically ship it.
Right. Your labor is tied to every single sale.
Exactly. Your time and materials scale linearly with your sales. But if you build, say, a digital budgeting spreadsheet, you put the heavy lifting in up front to build that asset, you spend a week making it perfect.
But then you're done.
But once it is done, the delivery and the transaction become completely automated by software. A customer in Australia can click a link, a secure payment gateway processes their credit card, and an automated email server instantly delivers the file to their inbox.
And you didn't have to do anything.
All of this happens at 3 in the morning, your time, while you're fast asleep. You are no longer required to be present for the transaction to occur. That is how you break the linear equation. You decouple your income from your actual physical hours.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. The asset does the heavy lifting of existing, and the internet does the heavy lifting of distributing it.
Beautifully put.
And that brings us right to the proposed solution in the Text Digital Income University, or DIU. Now, they call themselves an educational training platform, but it is really positioned in the document as the unschool.
The unschool.
I love that term. It's perfect because right off the bat, they clarify that DIU is fundamentally not a traditional school. There are no grades, there are no mandatory homerooms, there is no curriculum designed to stretch out over 4 years just to justify a tuition fee.
And no final exams.
And absolutely no piece of paper to hang on the wall at the end of it. It is built specifically and unapologetically for what they call the everyday scroller.
And that lack of a piece of paper to hang on the wall is a feature, not a bug. It is a deliberate ideological stance.
Right, they aren't hiding that fact.
Not at all. Traditional education sells you the diploma as the ultimate end goal. The piece of paper is supposed to be the key that unlocks the job. The blueprint argues that in the modern digital economy, no one cares about your piece of paper.
The algorithm definitely doesn't ask for your resume.
Exactly. The algorithm certainly doesn't ask to see your degree before it pushes your content to a million people. The real end goal should be tangible, practical, executable skills that actually generate income. They promise a platform with no fluff and no gatekeeping.
Let's talk about that gatekeeping because the internet is supposedly open to everyone, but it really doesn't feel that way when you're starting out.
It doesn't, because the language of the internet often acts as a bouncer at the door. If we connect this to the bigger picture, think about the psychological barriers that usually stop beginners completely cold.
Oh, there are so many.
It's that massive wall of confusing tech jargon terms like search engine optimization, pixel tracking, sales funnels, API integrations.
Just hearing those words makes my eyes glaze over.
Right. It makes you feel like you need a computer science background just to understand the baseline. It's the pervasive, deeply ingrained myth that you need a specialized marketing degree to understand consumer psychology and figure out how to actually sell something.
Yeah.
Or, perhaps most commonly, it's the fear that starting any kind of business requires thousands of dollars in startup capital, venture funding, or taking out a massive small business loan, which most everyday people simply cannot risk.
Exactly. The gatekeepers have made it seem like this exclusive secret club where you have to speak a certain language to enter. But what I found so incredibly refreshing about this document is how it deeply, almost intimately acknowledges the target audience's current reality.
Really sees the reader.
It knows exactly who is reading it. They explicitly call you, the listener, the everyday scroller. They know you are already on your phone. They know you are already on social media platforms for hours a day.
Yep.
So, what does this all mean? It means the psychological genius of this training isn't trying to force you to invent some brand new, unnatural behavior. It isn't asking you to wake up at 4 in the morning and learn how to code in Python.
Which no one wants to do.
No one wants to do that. It is simply redirecting an existing behavior. You don't need to learn how to use a smartphone. You already know how to swipe, tap, and record. You just need to learn how to use it with a different intent.
It is a brilliant psychological pivot. Human behavior is incredibly difficult to change. If a program asks you to adopt an entirely new daily habit from scratch, the failure rate is astronomical.
Because life gets in the way.
Exactly. But DIU is taking the energy, the visual acuity, and the sheer amount of time you are already naturally expending on a device and flipping the polarity. They're teaching you to move from the role of the consumer, the person being sold to, the person being advertised to, and stepping into the role of the producer.
Yes. Flipping the polarity. I love that visual. You were stepping behind the counter instead of standing in line.
That's exactly what it is.
So how do they actually execute that pivot? The blueprint breaks down the necessary practical skills into what they call the fundamental pillars of the digital economy. There are 4 of them, and this is where we really get into the deep nuts and bolts of what DIU actually teaches you to do. We are going to look under the hood. The first topic they cover is digital product creation.
This is the bedrock foundation of the entire system. We touched on digital assets earlier, and this is what that means in actual day-to-day practice.
Right.
The blueprint teaches the mechanics of how to create simple, high-value digital products completely from scratch, using tools that are likely already freely available to you.
What kind of products are we talking about here?
We're talking about ebooks, step-by-step informational guides, digital templates for software like Notion or Excel, or specialized digital planners that people use on their iPads.
Now, when you say high value, I want to make sure we are clear on what that means. Because the internet is full of useless PDFs that no one
Oh,
wants.
absolutely flooded with them.
Right. What separates a random document from a digital asset that actually generates income?
That is a critical distinction to make. The value of a digital product is entirely derived from its ability to solve a specific, painful problem for a specific group of people, or to save them a significant amount of time.
It's about utility.
Exactly. It isn't about writing the next great American novel. Let's use a very grounded example. Let's say you have spent the last 5 years figuring out how to meal prep healthy dinners for a family of 4 on a strict budget of $100 a week.
Okay, very specific.
Right. You have the grocery lists, you know exactly how to store the food so it doesn't spoil, you have the exact recipes. To you, that is just your daily life. It's nothing special.
Sure.
But to a newly single parent who is completely overwhelmed, working full-time, and bleeding money on takeout every night, that knowledge is a lifesaver.
Oh, they would pay for that immediately.
Yes. If you package that specific system into a clear, easy-to-read 30-page digital guide with printable grocery lists, that is a high-value asset. You are selling a shortcut. You are selling the solution to a headache.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. You are monetizing the solutions to problems you have already solved in your own life.
Exactly.
But let's get into the friction here. I can hear someone saying, okay, I know how to meal prep, but I don't know how to design a professional-looking 30-page guide. I'm not a graphic designer. How does the blueprint address the actual creation process?
The blueprint addresses this by pointing to the absolute democratization of design tools over the last few years. 10 years ago, yeah, you would need to buy expensive software like Adobe InDesign and spend months learning how to use it.
And it was super complicated.
Very. Today, DIU teaches you how to use free browser-post drag-and-drop applications like Canva. These platforms come with thousands of pre-made, professionally designed templates.
You don't have to start from a blank page?
Never. You literally select a template that looks clean, click on the text box, type your meal prep instructions, drag in a photo from your phone, and hit a button that says Export as PDF. The technical barrier to creating a beautiful, professional-grade digital asset is functionally zero.
That is wild.
The value is in your knowledge, not your ability to code a website or build a layout from scratch.
And the key mechanic here, as we discussed, is that you use these free apps to create this specific item exactly once. You design the meal prep guide one time over a weekend. You ensure the grocery lists are accurate one time. But because it is a digital file, you can sell it 10 times, 100 times, or 10,000 times without ever having to recreate the work.
Precisely. And this is where we have to discuss the massive, almost unfair logistical advantage of the digital economy that the blueprint highlights the reality of zero inventory and zero shipping hassles.
This is huge.
It is the main reason traditional businesses fail. Think about what it takes to run a traditional physical product business. Say you wanted to sell physical printed meal prep planners. First, you have to design it.
Okay.
Then, you have to find a manufacturer, usually overseas, which requires fronting thousands of dollars in capital just to meet their minimum order quantity.
So you're already in debt.
Exactly. Then you have to wait 2 months for a cargo ship to deliver it. When it finally arrives, you have to store 500 physical planners, which means paying for a commercial warehouse space or completely filling up your own garage and living room with heavy cardboard boxes.
Which is incredibly stressful. You are literally living inside your inventory.
You are. And the friction doesn't stop there. When a customer actually buys one, you have to manually print a shipping label. You have to buy a padded envelope. You have to physically pack the item.
Then you have to drive to the post office.
And stand in line. You have to deal with lost packages, shipping delays, supply chain disruptions, and handle the returns of damaged physical items.
It sounds exhausting just listing it all out.
Every single one of those steps is a point of friction that completely eats away at your profit margins and drains your time. It is a logistical nightmare. It's the primary reason most small businesses fail before they even get off the ground. They suffocate under the weight of their own overhead.
Wow.
With a digital product, the overhead is effectively eliminated. The profit margins are incredibly high, often above 90%, because the cost of duplication is zero.
It's literally just a download link. That's the beauty of it. The customer pays, the software generates a secure link, the customer gets the guide immediately, even if it's Thanksgiving Day and the post office is closed, and you didn't have to lift a finger to fulfill the order,
It is an automated exchange of value.
which is an incredible concept, but it leads us very naturally into the next massive hurdle. Because let's be real, I could create the most beautiful, life-changing meal prep PDF in the history of the world. It could be sitting on my hard drive, ready to go. But if nobody on the internet knows it exists, it is completely worthless.
A secret product doesn't sell.
Exactly. A digital asset requires distribution. And that brings us to the next section of the Blueprint's training social media marketing.
Yes, the distribution problem. This is where most traditional businesses fail online. They build a beautiful website and assume people will just miraculously find it.
Build it and they will come.
But the internet is an infinitely large desert. You have to build roads to your specific store.
Mm.
Now, the blueprint talks about flipping the script here, moving entirely from being a passive consumer to an active creator on everyday platforms.
Okay.
They specifically build their strategies around the giants of attention and TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
Right. And again, this goes back to understanding the core psychology of the everyday scroller. DIU recognizes that you, the listener, are probably already opening these specific apps multiple times a day.
Probably multiple times an hour, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You are watching short-form videos, you are scrolling through endless aesthetic feeds, you are consuming hours of content while waiting in line at the grocery store or sitting on the couch after work.
It's just a reflex at this point.
It is. The training is entirely focused on teaching you how to step out of that trance. It provides the mechanical strategies to use those exact same apps to get views, build an audience, and ultimately drive traffic to that download link for your digital product.
And we need to explain how that actually works, because it isn't magic and it isn't luck. It's about understanding the engine under the hood of these platforms. You are learning the language of the algorithm.
Let's break that down. What is the algorithm in this context, really? Because it sounds like this omnipotent, terrifying artificial intelligence that just, decides who succeeds and who fails.
It can definitely feel that way, but when you strip away the mystique, an algorithm is just a set of mathematical rules designed to achieve a very specific goal for the platform.
And what is that goal?
It is user retention.
Yeah.
They want people to stay on the app for as long as possible so they can show them more advertisements. That is their entire business model. So the algorithm is constantly hunting for content that keeps people watching. When DIU teaches you to feed the algorithm, they are teaching you the specific psychological triggers that keep human beings engaged.
Okay, so give me an example of how that translates to a strategy. If I'm trying to sell my meal prep guide, I'm not just posting a picture of the PDF and saying, buy this. That's an advertisement, and people swipe past advertisements instantly.
Exactly. People go social media to be entertained or educated, not to be kitsched to. So the blueprint teaches you how to structure a piece of content that serves the algorithm's goal of retention while simultaneously serving your goal of audience building.
How so?
For instance, the training emphasizes the critical importance of the hook, the first 3 seconds of a video. If you don't capture someone's attention in 3 seconds, they swipe away, the algorithm registers that as a failure, and it stops showing your video to new people.
So a weak hook might be, hi guys, today I want to talk about how I make dinner for my kids.
They are already gone.
They swiped away at, hi guys.
Precisely. A strong hook, engineered for the algorithm, might be a visually engaging shot of a perfectly organized fridge, with text on the screen that says, how I feed a family of 4 for under $100 a week without cooking every night.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would stop scrolling for that.
Right. That speaks directly to a pain point. It promises a solution. It creates a curiosity gap. The viewer needs to know the answer, so they watch the video all the way through.
And that tells the algorithm.
That high retention rate tells the algorithm this is great content, push it to 10,000 more people who have shown an interest in budgeting or parenting. You are leveraging the platform's desire for attention to build your own massive, highly targeted audience for free.
It's like realizing the slot machine you've been mindlessly putting quarters into for years is actually a cash register, and DIU is giving you the manual on how to operate it. You are using the platform's own greed for attention to distribute your digital asset.
That is exactly the dynamic. You are redirecting the flow of attention.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, because the next pillar is about influencer and brand foundations. And when people hear phrases like build a brand or get views on TikTok, the immediate visceral reaction for a huge percentage of folks is absolute panic.
Total panic. The wall goes right back up.
They picture themselves having to learn complex, trending dances in their living room or film themselves talking directly to the camera in the middle of a crowded grocery store.
Which is mortifying for most people.
Exactly, or completely changing their personality to become this loud, hyper extroverted influencer. And a lot of people simply do not want to be internet famous. They value their privacy.
Understandably so.
But the blueprint has a huge, crucial nuance here that completely shifts the paradigm, a face versus faceless approach.
This is perhaps one of the most relieving parts of the curriculum for introverts or professionals who want to keep their side hustle separate from their corporate careers.
Oh, that's a good point about corporate careers.
The blueprint states very clearly that you can entirely choose how you show up online. Yes, you can absolutely be the face of your brand. If you are naturally charismatic, comfortable on camera, and want to build a personal brand around your own identity and daily life, they train you on how to do that effectively.
Like how to set up the lighting and that sort of thing.
Exactly. How to light a room, how to speak to the lens, how to build parasocial relationships with an audience. But importantly, they also offer comprehensive, dedicated training on how to run a completely faceless account.
A faceless account. Just pause and think about that concept for a second. You can build a magnetic online presence, attract an audience of hundreds of thousands of people, and sell thousands of copies of your digital products entirely from behind the scenes.
It's completely viable.
You never, ever have to put your actual face on camera if you don't want to. It completely removes the barrier of camera anxiety, the fear of being judged by your high school friends, or the concern about maintaining privacy. You are building a brand around an aesthetic, a specific niche, or a certain type of value or information, rather than your personal identity.
It's a fascinating evolution of digital marketing, and it raises a really important question about what truly drives value online in today's economy.
Which is what?
Well, a lot of people mistakenly assume that celebrity or personality is the only thing that sells. But the reality is that utility and resonance are far more powerful drivers of purchasing behavior.
Let's go back to our meal prep example. How does that work facelessly?
Okay, so if a faceless account provides incredible, beautifully shot top-down videos of meal prep happening, just hands chopping vegetables, time lapses of food cooking, all set to trending, calming audio with text on the screen delivering incredible daily tips on grocery budgeting. The audience does not need to know what the creator's face looks like to find immense value in that content. The trust is not built through eye contact with a persona. The trust is built through the relentless consistency and the undeniable quality of the information being provided.
So if the tips are actually good, the audience trusts the brand.
Exactly. If the tips work, the audience trusts the brand. And when that brand suggests, hey, all these recipes and a shopping list are available in my $15 guide, the audience buys it.
That is such a powerful distinction. The trust is in the utility. It really opens the door wide open for anyone to do this, regardless of their personality type or desire for fame. The next section of the blueprint is a bit of a pivot. It's called physical product promotion. And this is specifically acknowledging that some of the people reading the document, and some of you listening right now, might not actually want to create digital ebooks.
They might already make something physical.
Exactly. Maybe you already have a deep passion. Maybe you are a ceramicist making beautiful mugs, or you make custom jewelry in your garage, or you own a small physical brick-and-mortar boutique in your hometown. You already have physical products that you pour your heart into.
Right. The blueprint isn't ignoring the traditional entrepreneur or the physical artisan. For this specific group, the primary struggle isn't figuring out product creation.
Because they already know how to make a great product.
Exactly. Their struggle is pure visibility. They are stuck trying to figure out how to get people to actually notice their physical items online in an absolute sea of global competition. They might have a beautiful Etsy shop, but they are relying on Etsy's internal search engine, which is incredibly crowded.
So how does the blueprint help the person selling handmade pottery? Do the same digital rules apply to a physical clay mug?
Absolutely. The blueprint addresses this by providing exact marketing strategies to scale an existing physical business using the exact same algorithmic principles we just discussed.
Wait, really? The exact same ones?
The mechanisms of reaching an audience do not change just because the product is physical. The same principles of understanding algorithmic reach, The psychology of hook and retention, the consistency of audience building, and strategic content creation that can sell a digital meal planner can be perfectly applied to selling handmade ceramics.
That makes sense.
It's about taking a local, geo-fenced or hidden business and giving it a massive global storefront.
So instead of just posting a static picture of a mug on Instagram and hoping someone buys it, you would use the training to create highly engaging short-form video.
Yeah.
Maybe you show the mesmerizing process of throwing the clay on the wheel, you use trending audio, you show the satisfying moment the mug comes out of the kiln, you tell the story of why you chose a certain glaze, you are building a narrative around the physical product that captures attention in the feed.
Precisely. You are using the digital mechanics of content distribution to drive traffic to your physical checkout page. You are still dealing with shipping and inventory, but you have solved the hardest part of business, which is customer acquisition.
Okay, so those are the core mechanics. We've talked about the creation of digital assets that require zero shipping. We've talked about leveraging social media algorithms to build distribution networks for free.
Right.
We've covered how to do it, whether you want to be the face of the brand or stay entirely anonymous behind the scenes. And we've discussed how these rules apply to physical products. We have thoroughly established the what.
We have.
But naturally, if I'm listening to this deep dive, my next immediate glaring question is, this all sounds fantastic in theory. I understand the logic. But how do I actually learn to do this without getting completely lost?
The execution part.
Yeah. How do I, someone who currently works a standard job and isn't a tech genius, go from zero to building automated digital assets without having a complete tech meltdown on day 2? And the next section of the blueprint covers exactly this, the blueprint method. It details how the learning actually happens inside DIU.
This is where the pedagogical philosophy of the platform becomes really clear. The blueprint is highly, highly critical of traditional lecturing.
Good, because lecturing is boring.
It is. They state plainly that real, actionable education shouldn't feel like a college lecture where someone talks at you for an hour. It should feel like you're looking over someone's shoulder at a step-by-step blueprint.
That makes a lot of sense.
If you are trying to learn a highly practical, execution-dependent digital skill, sitting in a chair and listening to someone talk abstractly about high-level marketing theory is incredibly inefficient and frustrating.
It's completely useless. It's like trying to learn how to ride a bicycle by reading a dense physics textbook about gyroscopic motion.
That's a great analogy.
You can understand the theory of gravity all day long, but until you actually get on the seat and feel the balance, you can't ride the bike. The theory doesn't translate to the real-world execution.
That is exactly the problem with most online courses. They sell theory. DIU's approach, as outlined in the text, is distinctly visual, tactile, and practical. And they hammer home this point specifically to break down the tech barrier that scares so many people away. You do not need to be tech savvy.
I know we said that earlier, but they really emphasize it, huh?
They do. There is zero complicated coding involved, none. You do not need to know HTML. You do not need to know how to build a website from a blank screen. They focus entirely on showing you how to use simple, user-friendly, third-party applications that you can download right onto your phone or open in a browser on your laptop.
Let's push on that no tech skills claim, though, because I want to be realistic for the listener. It is easy to say no tech skills required, but earlier you were talking about automated email servers delivering digital files at 3:00 a.m. and secure payment gateways processing international credit cards.
Right, that sounds complicated.
Come on, setting up an automated email funnel requires some level of technical competence, doesn't it? Does the blueprint actually explain how a complete novice navigates setting up a server?
It's a very fair point to challenge. And the answer is that the landscape of software has fundamentally changed.
Yeah.
10 years ago, yes, you would have needed to hire a developer to build an integration between your website and an email server. It was highly technical. Today, the blueprint points you toward platforms. Things like Stam Store or Gumroad or simplified Shopify setups where the complex engineering has already been done for you. These platforms are designed specifically for non-technical creators.
So you don't have to build the server yourself.
Not at all. When they say set up an automated delivery, what that actually looks like in practice is creating an account, clicking a button that says upload product file, uploading your PDF, and typing in the price.
Really? That's it?
That's it. The platform's internal software handles the entire back-end API integration. They host the file, they process the credit card securely, they automatically generate the email, and they send it to the customer. Your technical involvement is literally dragging and dropping a file and typing in a number.
So the complex tech is hidden behind a very simple, user-friendly interface. You are basically renting their pre-built infrastructure for a small percentage of the sale.
Exactly. You are leveraging existing simplified tools. And how DIU teaches you to use these tools is through what they describe as their core learning loop. It is shockingly simple. It is just 4 words.
What are they?
Watch, listen, take notes, and put the knowledge into practice.
Watch, listen, take notes, practice. That's it.
That's the whole loop.
It is so elegantly anti-academic in the best way possible. They aren't grading your essay on the history of marketing. They're asking you to execute a task. They're literally pulling back the curtain on how this entire industry operates.
They emphasize showing over telling. Instead of just saying, make sure your video looks nice and has a good layout, they show you real-world examples. They share their screen.
That visual component is so helpful.
It is. They show you the exact logic behind why a certain text placement works better than another. They explain the psychological why behind a specific editing style. Like, why does a fast-paced cut retain attention better than a slow zoom?
Or font choices.
Exactly. Why do certain high-contrast fonts convert better than delicate cursive fonts on a small mobile screen?
They are showing you the exact literal steps to go from staring at a completely blank, intimidating page on your computer screen to having a finished, polished, ready-to-sell digital product, and then showing you exactly what buttons to push to post the video that will sell it.
They walk you through every step.
It's holding your hand through the actual physical execution of the tasks, not just giving you the grand theory and wishing you the best of luck.
And that highly practical, step-by-step, visually led methodology is absolutely essential because of exactly who they are trying to reach.
Right.
Which brings us to a very important boundary that the blueprint sets near the end of the document. They are exceedingly clear about who this platform is actually built for, and just as importantly, who it will absolutely not work for.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
This is what we might call the action taker's niche.
Yeah, let's really get into this because as we near the end of our deep dive into this document, we have to talk about mindset. We've covered the mechanics, the simple apps, the digital products, the algorithms, the automated delivery, but the mechanics are useless without the correct mindset.
Completely useless.
It requires a very real commitment, and the blueprint is almost shockingly blunt about this. They do not coddle the reader here.
It is entirely necessary to be blunt here, because the online business space is rife with delusions. If we connect this to the bigger picture, anytime people talk about making money online, there is a massive segment of the population that is just looking for a lottery ticket.
Oh, totally. The get rich while doing absolutely nothing crowd.
Exactly. They want to buy a course, do absolutely nothing, and wake up rich. The blueprint firmly, almost aggressively, rejects that audience.
What do they say specifically?
They state, let's be entirely clear. DIU is a niche platform. It isn't for people looking for a handout. It isn't the traditional job opening where someone hands you a task list. And it is absolutely not a magic button that prints money overnight.
No magic buttons. Honestly, I think that is the most trustworthy thing a platform like this can possibly say.
It builds so much credibility.
It really does. If this document promised a magic button where you push go and money falls out of your phone, we wouldn't even be doing a deep dive on it today because it would be obvious predatory garbage.
100%.
By saying, this is going to take actual work, this is going to require discipline, they are treating the reader with adult respect. They are saying, we have the roadmap, but you have to drive the car.
Exactly. They're setting a baseline of reality. They define the ideal candidate, not by their current skill level, but by their psychological willingness to engage with the material.
Okay, so who is the ideal candidate?
The blueprint explicitly says this is for the person who is willing to grab a notebook, sit down, and actually learn a new skill. It requires active, deliberate participation. You have to be willing to be bad at something for a little while until you get good at it.
That's just life, right?
It is. It is for the person who has finally had that internal fundamental paradigm shift, the realization that social media is actually a remarkably powerful global distribution tool and not just a digital pacifier to pass the time while sitting in a dentist's waiting room.
And what's really great and highly practical is that they acknowledge that the scale of ambition for this ideal candidate can vary wildly.
That's a great point.
You do not have to want to build a massive $1 million stress-inducing digital empire for this blueprint to be applicable to you. They explicitly say this training is for you, whether you are just looking for a small, manageable side hustle.
Right, like Maybe you literally just want an extra $500 a month to help cover the aggressively rising cost of groceries or to pay off a specific credit card.
Which is an incredibly valid and life-changing goal for a lot of families.
Absolute.
Or, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you are entirely burnt out on the corporate world and you are completely committed to building a brand new, full-time, six-figure career from your living room sofa.
The underlying tools are exactly the same.
That's the crazy part. The algorithmic mechanisms are exactly the same. The digital asset creation is exactly the same. It's just a matter of how much fuel you want to put into the engine and how many hours you want to dedicate to building it.
The underlying synthesis of this entire blueprint, when you really step back and look at it, is one of intense empowerment through the removal of excuses. It systematically strips away all the traditional barriers that people use to convince themselves they can't succeed.
It addresses them one by one.
It really does.
Yeah.
You don't have a college degree. Check. You don't need one to sell a digital planner. You don't have a massive budget or Silicon Valley venture capital. Check. You can build this using free apps and sweat equity.
You don't know how to code a website.
Check. The platforms handle all the back-end API integrations for you automatically. You are terrified of showing your face on camera. Check. You can build an entirely faceless aesthetic brand based purely on providing value.
So there really are no excuses left.
The only variable left in the equation, the only thing that actually determines success or failure, is the individual. You just need the profound willingness to listen, to learn, to push through the initial confusion, and to put the work into actual sustained motion.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, right now? Let's take a second to quickly recap the journey this blueprint takes us on, because it is a significant shift in perspective.
A lot to take in.
It starts by validating that very real, very heavy feeling of being trapped in the traditional time for paycheck cycle, where you are essentially renting out your life by the hour with a hard ceiling on your potential.
Right.
It offers a tangible, mechanical way out by teaching you how to build what they call digital assets, creating a high-value ebook, a template, or a guide exactly once, and using automated software to sell it infinitely with zero inventory and zero shipping hassles.
The zero inventory part is just so liberating.
It really is. And most importantly, it shows you how to transform the social media apps you already have installed, the ones you already use every single day, from a mindless, time-draining scrolling habit into a powerful, free, income-generating distribution tool.
Flip in the script.
And it does all of this while giving you the freedom to choose whether you want to be the front-facing personality of your brand or stay completely hidden behind the scenes running a faceless account.
And I think the most vital takeaway from all of this analysis is understanding where these capabilities actually reside.
Where do they reside?
The tools for financial freedom, the instruments required to build a sustainable work-from-home career, they are not locked away in some ivory tower or corporate boardroom. They are quite literally sitting right inside your pocket right now.
It's just your phone.
Your smartphone, combined with the internet, is the most powerful infrastructure for commerce ever created in human history. The hardware is already distributed. The only missing piece of the puzzle is the right tactical knowledge to unlock its potential.
Exactly. You already own the factory. You just need to download the right mental software to learn how to operate the machinery.
That's a brilliant way to phrase it.
So as we finally wrap up this deep dive into the Digital Income University blueprint, I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over as you go about your day.
Let's hear it.
Based on everything we've unpacked here, from the mechanics of algorithms to the reality of the attention economy, if you are going to spend 3 hours mindlessly scrolling on your phone today anyway, which, let's be honest, the statistics say most of us will, you have to ask yourself a very serious, very uncomfortable question.
Last question.
Who is actually making money off your time and attention right now? Is it you building your own digital assets? Or is it the platform selling your eyeballs to the highest bidder? Because someone is absolutely cashing in on your attention every time you open that app. Maybe it's time you learned the mechanics, flipped the polarity, and made sure it was you.